All right, it is Tuesday, April 30th, and we are going to continue on with our steps to success. And tonight is we're going to start a new section called the 6 key elements of a successful show. And this is something that, again, I kind of, this very much loans itself to the teacher in me, where things should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there should be a goal that comes out of the show. And so when I learned this, probably year one in my business, going back to, when I was with the other company, this was a system and a style to the show that I formed probably 18 years ago at this point. So I do feel very organized about my show presentation, and I know what elements have to be hit no matter what, whether there's 3 people or 20 people, whether they're drunk or sober, whether they're cooperative or uncooperative, whatever the case may be, there are things that at the show that have to take place regardless of what's happening. So those are the things that we're going to talk about, and this is going to take 2 nights. So we'll be doing part of this tonight and part of this next week. So, because here's the thing, when we're headed into a show, it's not what we should not be thinking about is, how much sales am I going to get tonight? What are my sales going to be tonight? Because sales are just a one-shot thing. That is your business for the moment. What we need to be thinking about first is, how many bookings am I going to get tonight? And how many people can I share our business opportunity with tonight? Who am I going to be sharing our amazing business with tonight? That is the goal. And of course, high sales are a home run, right? That's what's like a home run show. A home run show is like 2 to 3 bookings, handing out 2 or 3 information packets to people, opportunity brochures to people that want to take some information home, and some good sales. And when that's your expectation level, that's what you're going to strive for. And what you're striving for, when that's your expectation and that's what you're striving for, that's what you're focused on, and that's what you're going to get. It's kind of a full circle thing. So when we think about the show, sometimes what we're thinking about is that, we have to say everything there is to say about the jewelry. And that's what we definitely don't have to do. We need to say as much as we can about why they want to have a show. We want to say everything we can that would inspire them to join the business, while making them fall in love with the jewelry, saying just enough and showing just enough to have them fall in love with the jewelry. It is way more important that we're selling the reasons to book and the reasons why they would want to join than it is for them to want to purchase the jewelry, because they pretty much, see what they like. We just need to tell some stories and put some things together nicely for them. That's really it. So, why they want to book, why they would want to get together and do this with their friends. What is the sale? Okay, that's certainly something we do have to explain. And what's going to happen tonight? What can they expect to be going on during this party? So those are all parts of this key elements of a successful show. Now, remember how weeks ago we talked about the reasons that people don't book? That was one of our agendas a couple weeks back. Might have even been a couple of months back at this point. But now we're going to finally talk about why they do book and how that fits into our show. So why they do book shows, I'm sure we all know what's the number one reason why people book shows.
Their wish list is long.
That's actually number 2.
Because they love you.
Close.
To have a party, to have fun.
They had fun is actually number one. So, and then Becky's answer of they want a lot of jewelry is a close second. So, yes, you're both correct. So, the number one reason is that they had fun. The experience they had, they felt like they were entertained. They had a fun night out. It was educational. They feel like they learned something. And there's kind of been, because we have, a pretty long range of experience in this group. Some people have been in direct sales for 20 years and even longer, and some people have been in direct sales since last month. So if you've been around the block a while, if you've been in it a really long time, like if we were to go back to even like the 70s, or when you think about the process of direct sales, the growth of direct sales over the years, in the 70s, it was really just about the socializing, right? Especially because in the 70s, women didn't really work outside the home as much. So these home parties were a way to get together and socialize. Shopping for something was just a bonus. So they were getting together with the girls, and if they saw something they liked, they were going to pick it up. Then in the 80s, and then certainly into the 90s, it became all about like education. And we were wanting to educate, and you may have been the guest at a show at that time, and some of us surely were selling at that time, and shows got real long, and that kind of extended into the early 2000s. I don't know about you, but I was doing a solid like hour and probably 20-minute Pampered Chef show in those days. Because I was teaching everything you could teach. And here's the thing, they were willing to sit for it. They were willing to watch it. They were willing to listen. I know, Phyllis, you sold Creative Memories. I'm sure that you were talking some long stuff too. Becky, you were in the same company as me. I'm sure that you were real getting detailed and everything. Anybody who's been around is either in a different company or here at Park Lane, your show is probably really long in the 90s. But here's the thing. Now it's totally different. Like, people want to get in and out. They don't need to hear everything from us in terms of the actual jewelry, because if they want to know that bad, they kind of look it up online before they come. Yeah. People will say, oh, I saw this online, or, oh, I saw the jewelry's guaranteed. Oh, I saw that there's a sale. So we can kind of get right to it, and we need to get right to it, because about 20 minutes in, they're about ready to wrap it up, because what they really came for was the shopping experience and the help of us having them shop. And therefore, we need to make sure we allow enough time for that to occur. Because it does feel terrible when people are trying to make decisions or trying to understand the sale or want to maximize their bonus item, but other people are still trying to order and making them feel rushed. And that's terrible. I hate for them to feel like they're trying to shop on Black Friday when really they're in their friend Susan's kitchen. So we need to make sure that we allow enough time for that nice shopping experience to occur. So, that's all. So, if we keep it quick, we are entertaining, we share enough information about the jewelry that is really all they need to know, and they had some fun, they're likely to book. Okay, so then number 2, as Becky said, yes, they have a long wish list and people book because they want the free jewelry. Now, we can't only emphasize this, because then we run into the issue of those that actually only do it to get their friends together, or they don't want to feel like embarrassed that they're getting stuff off their friends' back, which is like a newer phenomenon. But certainly plenty of people know perfectly well that when you have a home party, your friends come shop, you get free stuff. That's the jam. And when they have a big list, they know it, and they feel that that's what they would like to, that they know they would like to book for that reason. The number 3 reason that people book, and this really applies to women, which is really our customers anyway, is that they're willing to help a friend. I'm sure you've all heard a friend say, and you've overheard her say to someone else, yeah, I'll book a party for Sue, and you're not Sue. What they mean is, I'm going to book a party because I know that Sue gets something when someone books. You probably have had a guest flat out ask you, what does Sue get if I book? Even if you already explained it. They will ask anyway, because people aren't always listening. So that's just something that women do. We like helping each other. So they do think that, all right, I'll book tonight to help Carol. So that's where it comes in, that sharing what the booking gifts are is a smart strategy. Show your, I keep the friendship rings on a separate finger thing, and I keep it aside with the hostess only stuff. But this is out, and they always notice it. And then I will say, now, when 3 of you decide that you're going to have a couple friends together, Phyllis gets to choose one of these rings as a bonus $20 gift. And they go, ooh, that's how you get those rings? So that way, when I'm up to 2, and I'm, doing the orders and 2 people book, now I can say, out loud in front of everyone, Phyllis, if just 1 more of your friends book, one of these rings is yours. Now everyone else in the room is kind of going through that thought process, right? Where they're like, I do have a lot of jewelry on my list. Actually, this girl is pretty nice. The sale is certainly pretty good. All right. When she asks, I'll just say yes. I'll have a show. So the visuals help a lot. That's where it's good to, another great visual was what Phyllis shared right on the Facebook Live last night, the gift bags. If you want to make sure that for sure you're getting 3 bookings, then set up 3 gift bags, and you know that when all 3 go, and everyone in the room knows that when all 3 goes, then she, their friend Carol got their, gets that extra gift. So keep it out there, keep it in front of them, something visual. So whether you're showing, also, reminding them that when every single friend who books, she gets another thank you piece. Whip that accordion open, or grab a couple of pieces off the table. This brie necklace is actually one of Carol's favorites, and if one of you are booking, she gets this at your party for $22. And then when you pick up another one, when you're showing the Imagine necklace, you can say, this is another option that Carol gets as many of these as $22 as many of you who book. So Sue, if you're having a show too, then this would be an example of something that Carol can get at your show. It reminds them too that the same will be true when they have their show. So all of that is super helpful. Okay, so with that being the case, hold on, man, this chair. Okay, so with that being the case, every once in a while, like the hydraulic lets out, and I'm like, so with that being the case, here we go. These are the parts, the 6 key elements of a successful show. Number 1 is the meet and greet. So we need to be ready when guests are arriving, ready to say hello, ready to introduce ourselves, ready to chit chat with them. If the hostess is busy, with the blender and you hear the doorbell ring, go answer it. It's fine. That allows you to mingle with people, because this is a relationship business and this is your first opportunity to form the relationship. Now, in the age of texting and email and everything else, people have become far less able to do normal human interaction. So I would like to teach you the words, hi, I'm Michelle, and you are? Because so many people, you'll say, hi, I'm Becky, and they go, hi. Thanks. So that is not helpful. So then, I do try to give people the opportunity to just introduce themselves back like a normal person. But if they don't, I will then say, and you are? And then, or they'll say, hi, I'm Becky's mom. Hi, Becky's mom. What's your first name? Like, what am I supposed to call you, Becky's mom? So, you will feel so much more comfortable if you just address that by saying, hi, I'm Michelle, and you are? And they'll say their name. Okay, great. It's so nice to meet you. I'm so glad you could come. Have you ever been to a Park Lane show before? And now they're going to tell you if they have or they haven't. You then have the appropriate follow-up discussion, right? So if she says yes, say, oh, great. Have you been recently? Have you seen the new spring line that I have here today? And if she says, no, it's been a while, oh, great. Well, if you came back, I'm guessing you like what you have. So let me find a nice piece to put on you from our new collection. put a piece of jewelry on them, let them get their drink, let them chat with their friends. And there you go. If she's never been, then you get to say something like, oh my gosh, you are in for a huge treat. This whole night is about trying on jewelry, modeling, seeing what looks good, and me finding you an amazing deal because we have a super sale tonight. Does that sound good? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Okay, great. Let me find you a piece to model because you have a really nice top on that I have a piece in mind for. Now, what about the person who's like, oh my God, yes, I've been to like a million shows. You're like, oh, great. How recent was your most recent one? And then they're like, oh, I guess maybe about 3 months ago. Okay, great. Good thing, because at least I have a new catalog for you. So I definitely have some new things for you. But let me ask you this, since you've been so many times, have you ever thought about doing what I do? And she may be like, oh, I mean, I don't know. You know, they'll probably stammer and waffle and whatever. And then you can say something like, you know what, do me a favor. While I'm doing the show, just watch with like a different set of eyes. Just kind of like imagine it was you doing the show. And then you tell me what you think about those thoughts at the end of the night. And then they go, okay. Because here's what's going to happen. You know, they can watch the show and she may well sit there and be like, huh, you know what? It's not really that hard what she's doing. She actually doesn't even say that much. I could probably even do a better job than her. So now that she's watched with that different mindset, when you take her order later, you get to say, okay, so you've been to a million shows. This was your first time with me though. So when I was talking, like, could you imagine that as you? What did you think about yourself maybe trying this out? See if she'll take home a brochure. It is very likely that she will at least take home a brochure because you put it in her mind early enough in the night to think about it instead of springing it on her at the end of the night. Any questions or thoughts up to this point? All right, so then we're going to continue on. So, oh my gosh, I just went a whole page ahead of my notes without even looking. Okay. Okay, that was actually the whole section on the meet and greet. I went 2 pages ahead in my notes without even looking. Okay, so that brings us to part 2 of the successful show, which is your opening talk, your show opening. This part is tremendous. This is a very, very important part of the show. Your show needs to have a distinct beginning where you're establishing with the guests what's going to happen tonight. And part of this is because we actually have to undo any potential damage that may have been done in the past. They may have gone to a Park Lane show with somebody that's not nearly as fun as you. They may have gone to any random home show where the girl talked for an hour and a half. And therefore, you know, they just had to like end up talking over her and chit-chatting with their friends and doing what they wanted to do because they didn't know if you was going to be the same way with you, and they didn't come for the Park Lane lecture series. They came to hang out with their friends. So it's good to address during the show opening what they can expect and how long they can expect it to take. That way they know, like they see that Susan's across the room and they haven't gotten to talk to her in a while. But if you tell them up front, we're going to spend about 20 minutes taking a look at the jewelry and trying on some combinations and seeing what looks good with what you have on and your skin tone. And then I'm going to do a little raffle. And then we're going to wrap it up and you can do some shopping time and some more socializing and see what looks good on each other. So that now when she sees her friend is across the room, but I just said, we're going to take about 20 minutes to take a look at the jewelry, blah, blah, blah. She's like, all right, I can wait till she's done to go across the room and talk to her. So it's crowd management before you even have to address it. But what you definitely have to do is practice it. Because do you want to know what your voice tends to sound like when you don't? It's this. Hi, my name is Michelle, and this is Park Lane. And what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to show you some jewelry. and we have a really good sale. And so you just try some things on, and then we'll see what you like. Oh my God, how annoying is that? It's like, wink, 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 right? That is not how a boss babe talks. That is not how any grown woman should talk. So that's what the the female voice though tends to sound like when you're nervous. So the way that you fix that is by practicing enough so that you don't sound like that. You want to come at them with the show opening like a horse out of the gate, right? With what the level of excitement that you want to bring them, and show them that you are a confident business owner and you are confident in what you have to offer and that you are an authority on what you're about to present. So, because you want them to say to myself, wow, I'm glad I'm here. So you're saying, hi, my name is Michelle, and this is Park Lane Jewelry. I am so thrilled to be here with you, Irene, and all of your friends. Look what a loved person Irene is by so many of you being here tonight. How many of you have never been to a Park Lane show before? And then they raise their hand. Oh, it's so funny because I find this to be the case. Every show I do, about half the people have never been, and the other half look at them like, how can this be? Because you're groupies with a lot of pieces. And that's one of the greatest things I find about selling Park Lane, is that there's always that mix of people where I'm introducing someone for the first time and satisfying the groupies all at the same time. If you love to shop only on sale, then Park Lane Show is the place for you to be, because we have an amazing sale in which your most expensive item is always the piece that you actually get for the lowest price. So tonight I'm going to show you some jewelry combinations. I'm going to see what looks good on you. I'm going to have you all model some jewelry, and then we're going to see what pieces. At the end, I'm going to help you shop like a friend, which means I'm going to take a look at your wish list and see how I can work the magic of our sale to get you the most jewelry for the best price. So you may find that there are so many pieces on your wish list at the end that you're going to want to end up doing what Irene is doing and decide you want to get a couple of friends together. And if that's the case, of course, later on, we'll see what kind of date we can find with each other. So with that, how many of you do love to shop on sale? Okay, that's how you get started. That's pretty much exactly what I say at every show. If you've ever been at a Sip and Style with me, you've heard that. If you've ever been at a normal party with me, you've heard that. It's pretty much the same all the time. Do you feel like you say a show opening now that is in any way similar? Like, how many of you feel you are doing a show opening and maybe it just needs some tweaks? Or, yes, I say a show opening and I'm happy with it.
I do the show opening. I struggle with how I close.
Okay.
Well,
we definitely get that.
Yeah, I need to be able to move. I need to get that first person to be ready to come to the register.
Okay, great. Oh, why is me echoing?
Is it me?
I don't know.
Let me undo it then.
Oh, apparently it is. I don't know why, because it wasn't before. Phyllis, so yes, that is definitely a part of the show. It is, however, next week's call. So, because we're not quite up to that yet. But yes, each week we will, work on transitioning from each one into the next one as well. Now, of course, that's not the only way to do a show opening, because you can also do the show opening, which kind of, you say the same thing in the beginning. Hi, my name is Michelle. This is Park Lane Jewelry. And I'm so thrilled to be here with you, Irene, and all of your friends. Show of hands, how many of you, this is your first Park Lane show? And then you can go into saying, basically like the 3 things you're going to do for them at this show. So tonight we're going to accessorize you without ever buying another piece of clothing, and give yourself a whole makeover just by accessorizing your clothing that you already have in new ways. That's something that makes people say, ooh, I'm glad I came. I want to learn that. We're going to refresh your wardrobe for spring by putting together new and exciting jewelry combinations that are going to make people forget that you already wore that blouse to work on Tuesday. People say, wow, that's something I need, right? Because people, don't have unlimited clothing. Another direction that you can take it is basically to let them know the 3 services you offer. So again, starting out with, hi, my name is Michelle. This is Park Lane Jewelry. Irene, thank you so much for getting your friends together tonight. Show of hands, how many of you have never been? Because again, you can make some decisions on how you're doing the show moving forward based on how many hands go up. If the whole room raises their hands, you have a room full of groupies. You don't have to be perhaps as thorough about the sale because they probably remember it from last time, and you won't have to spend quite as much time on it. If you know that they've all been to shows with you recently, maybe you're not showing the Moana earrings for as long as you normally would because probably they have them already, and we're going to have to move on to Coco's or something else that's on the lower side, but that's new, because they probably have Twizzlers and Moana and Whispers. So you can kind of make decisions on how you're going to proceed based on the answer. But, tonight I'm going to actually just do a real short overview of our jewelry. I'm going to show you a couple of different combinations, see what kind of colors look good on each of you. I'm going to help you with our sale because we do have an outrageous customer sale that's going to enable you to get all of your higher priced items half price or even less. And you're going to make a really big wish list. And if your wish list is too big to be handled in the purchase tonight, then of course the best and easiest way to handle that would be to book your own show like Irene did here tonight, and we're going to get yours on a big shopping spree. Now, if you did come here tonight thinking, I wonder if this girl makes any money, then yes, I would definitely invite you to take a look at what I do here tonight, but imagine it was you standing here. And if this is something that maybe would fit into your life, because if that's what you came here thinking about, or you're thinking about it now, then I would love to share some information with you about that later. And I certainly would love to talk to you about it further. So thanks again, Irene, so much for having us all. So let's get started. Who loves to shop on sale? That's kind of how I always end the show opening. Who likes to shop on sale? So that now they're re-engaged because anytime you ask people a question, it makes them pay attention. So I do ask a lot of questions, and the rowdier a crowd gets, the more questions I ask. That applies more at a sip and style when it's crowded and big room. But basically that version of the show opening is the shop, save, earn, sharing with them how they're going to shop, sharing with them how they can save, and sharing with them how they can earn. So there's a couple of different versions that you can use. And you may not even use the same one at every show, but definitely practice so that you have that down pat. It's so funny. I did a show in my old company one time that there were these big, large, ridiculous dogs. Now, that if you know me, my previous company is Pampered Chef, where I had to have ingredients on the table. And this girl, didn't put the dogs away, and their beds were right next to my table. So she would give me the ingredients. I would put them on the cutting board. I'd go back to the island to get something else. And when I turned around, the dog would be there going, and I was like, oh, the dog ate my cheese. So now I had to ask her for another piece of cheese. Then the dog ate a piece of the chicken. And finally I had to say to my hostess, if the dog eats any more of these ingredients, I can't make the recipe. And she was like, oh, so she actually kicked the crap out of the dogs, but whatever. But when I said my show opening, I had to, in addition to Cujo eating my ingredients, I had to also keep coming forward because it was a really big kitchen. So I had to move forward to address the men that felt inclined to stay in the room but talk. So I had to come forward so that they would pay attention, but then back up before Cujo eats the food. And I was going forward and backward while I'm saying my show opening. So it was like, hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm a blah, blah, blah with Pampered Chef. And what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to show you quick and easy recipe ideas and time-saving kitchen techniques. Everything that Pampered Chef makes is designed to get you out of the kitchen faster. And this is all happening while I'm going forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. And yet I could say it. And in fact, I'm out of that business 5 years and somehow just pulled it out again. And that's how strong your muscle memory needs to be for your show opening so that it just comes out automatically. Even when Cujo is eating your food, even when people are getting rowdy or people are distracting you and phones are going off, you can still be the authority, because this is where they decide, does this girl know her stuff? Do I want to spend my money with her? Okay? What you're definitely not putting in your show opening is a lengthy story about Shirley. No one cares this early. You definitely can say, and I do actually say, just so that you know, Park Lane's been in business since 1955. And the reason that I tell you that is so that when I tell you that the jewelry is fully guaranteed, you know that it's from a company that's been around since 1955. And 60 years later, we're here 60 years so far, we're still going to be here in another 60 years. So what good is a guarantee from a company that's closing tomorrow? So that's why I do love to let you know that we are a family-run and cash-rich company. So that's a whole lot different than being Shirley and Arthur got married when they were teenagers, and then Shirley had 8 kids, and oh my God, no one cares. They definitely don't care now. They might care later, but they definitely don't care now. So we're definitely not putting that in. Okay, so we are already at 10 o'clock Eastern. So actually it looks like this is where we will cut off tonight, because that concludes show opening. So I guess next week we'll do the actual show presentation and then go into, the closing part as well, because I don't want to have everybody past 10. So does anyone have a question or a comment?
Is there any reason why, or is it just because in this presentation, I noticed that you thanked your hostess several times before you went to the middle, before you went to save. Even before you went to save, you said, so thank you for having us here. You thanked her?
I generally say it either once or twice in the show opening.
Okay, all right. I don't know if I've done that. I like that.
Yeah, you know what? It's definitely important that we make the hostess feel special in front of her friends. Because think about it, before we got there, especially a hostess having a show on a Friday or a weeknight, like she was probably at work, she came home, she heated up the spinach dip, she was getting the wine out, she was cleaning the blender, everything she had to do to get this party ready. So we want to make sure that she feels special when we get started. If you do give your hostess something at the party, that's the time to do it, when everyone's paying attention and she's finally sitting down and enjoying her friends. I actually don't myself, because at that point she's already received 2 things, but I definitely thank her with my words and my smile.
I thank her because when I did the bags last night, and I talked about how sometimes I give her a piece of jewelry before the show so she can wear the jewelry to get her guests there. I always ask her if she will wear it to the show. So I'll say something about the piece that she's wearing tonight.
That's super smart. Yes, if you are someone who lets the hostess take something off the table from the previous show, or if you mail them something, it really is smart to even just write it down. That way, if you have it replaced and when you get to that, you can say, now, Irene, you already have this, right? Because one of the things that I do is when you do book a show from a friend, I let you take a piece from my table, and that's what she took. So, Irene, you've been wearing this to work, and make a little conversation about that. So yes, having them wear it or address it, at least redress it in some way if you don't remember, is a great strategy. Yeah.
How do you handle the not on time parties? Because kind of going in, if a particular group isn't going to be there on time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've offered like an on-time drawing, if you know like that group is late a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle making sure that you can get to an opening, even if people are strolling through? I don't.
Well, number one, if I suspect that this is going to be that group, and I actually ask everyone since you can never be sure whose friends are not on time. But I will often say, now, are your friends the on time type? And if they're like, no, my friends are always late. Okay, so then you said you wanted the party at 2. Do you actually want them there at 2? Or did you say 2 because you really meant 3? Then if she says, I said 2 because I really meant 3, then I'm going to put 2 on the invitation, but in my calendar, I write 2 parentheses 3. Because that means I don't have to be there at 2. You know, we don't get paid by the hour. So if someone knows bold-faced their friends are not coming at 2 o'clock, then I'm not getting there at 2 o'clock. Because even though for them it's a party, for me it's work. You know, and I don't mean that rude, but I can be home with my family for another hour. So trying to get in front of it by just straight up asking is one way. The other way is, you know, I'm not probably the best person to ask because literally 0 things take place on time in New York. So if I call a show for 7 o'clock, if the show is at 7, I get there at 7 because people are coming between 7 and 7:30. So that's when I set up and put jewelry on them as they're traveling in, and we start at 7:30. So the show opening takes place at 7:30. So that's why we bumped our Sip and Styles back to 6:30 so that we can actually start at 7 because those are on a weeknight. And people have to go to work. So that way at least we're kind of done by 9. Does anyone who lives in a more on-time place of the country have a tip for Becky?
Texas is not on time. People stroll in. There'll be a group
Yeah.
that'll come on time. Then there's another group that comes half an hour later. It's like, yeah.
Well, what I do say to that though too is
I want to ask Belinda what she does.
Yeah.
What does Belinda do?
I feel like she's going to do the same thing I do, but definitely ask her. Definitely ask her.
I do the same thing. My shows are never on time. Never. I don't think I've ever been to a show that started on time. But I kind of do exactly what Michelle does. I ask up front, you know, what time do you really expect? I ask in the beginning before we even put the time on the calendar. Are your friends going to be on time? What time do you really expect your friends to be there? And I don't use that language. I like, is it really, do you want them there at 7 o'clock or are you scheduling at 7 o'clock so they'll be there by 8 o'clock? And most people are pretty honest about it.
They are.
Most people are really pretty honest about it. And like you said, if she says she wants it to start at 8 o'clock, then I get there at 8 o'clock. You know, I don't, because it doesn't take me long to set up.
Right.
Because I've got everything ready. All I need you to do is have a clear space. I'm popping that stuff on the table and I'm ready. And if they're in the room when I get there, that's okay too, because they can start eating their hors d'oeuvres, whatever she has to serve. But I never go a half an hour early anymore because it doesn't take us long to set up and people rarely show up early.
Right. I agree. And actually they want the time to get a drink and socialize and stuff. So if I'm setting up while that's happening, I feel like that actually is nice for them.
It is annoying when you have somebody who comes late and wants to look at the jewelry and greet everybody in the room in the middle of your presentation.
Yeah, the greet everybody in the room in the middle of the show is definitely irritating. I know that's when you want to be like, okay, so we already got started. We all went around the room and shared our name, age, and weight, and it's your turn.
I would love that.
No, definitely don't try that. Well, there may be a crowd that occasionally you could do that with. Or if it was somebody who you knew from previous shows who's always late and you know that you can joke with them. But other than that, no, definitely don't do that. But you know what? Listen, there's going to be people who miss the beginning. But you know what? That's why we have the end. So the show close is actually just as, if not more, it's actually more important than the opening. So if they miss the opening, they probably catch the closing, and that's even more important. So I'm okay with if they miss it. What are you going to do? You got to get started at some point. So what I will say, if a lot of people miss the opening, I will keep the show part shorter to make sure I can do an even more thorough closing. I will say that, if that helps, Becky. Because that means I'm going to have to hit them with some of the things that I talked about in the opening. I may have to recap again in the closing. Any other thoughts or questions?
Hey, Michelle, I was just curious how you handle if somebody comes, maybe they're on time, maybe running a little bit late, but then they flat out say, I can't stay very long. I just want to look at the catalog and place an order and run. And so they don't even want to listen to your spiel, and they just want to get to the good stuff and move on.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely can't stop what we're doing to do one person's order. So if it's so early that it's before we even start, then I may take that order. But more often I'll say, okay, so you know what? This is the wish list. Jot down the things that you like on the list. On the other side, please write your phone number, and then I'll text you later or I'll call you later. Yeah, because we definitely cannot stop the middle of the demo to do an order. That's definitely not happening. So write down what you want, make sure your phone number's on here, and I'll be in touch later.
Okay, I know most recently I had a party, and she showed up a little bit early, and then she just immediately wanted a catalog and wanted to start looking at it. What was the sale? What was the special? And just wanted to get to it because she had to
If she's early, then that's fine. I'll tell her real quick what the sale is and help her through an order real fast. Early is no problem. The middle is the problem.
Got it. It just kind of became a little bit of a distraction because obviously I gave her a catalog, but I hadn't given others catalogs yet because I don't like them to be looking at the catalog before I'm sharing what's going on. And so she had a catalog and then had over her shoulder and then started asking questions, and it just kind of threw me off my game because I was now distracted with that and not, okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Just hold on,
I know. You do kind of want to throttle these people. Because it's like, come on, you like, I got a procedure here, but at the same time, they came and they just want to place an order, we want the order. So usually you can kind of wrestle them out and then say, you girls are getting the books later. Don't worry. She just wasn't staying and she's not trying everything on. I'll give you guys the catalogs later because it's too much. Because when they ask, listen, if they really want one, I'll give it. But because I'm not trying to hold it hostage, but what I tell them is it's a lot for you to hold your clipboard, your drink, your spinach dip, your pen. Let me just give you the catalog at the end after you've had a chance to try things on so that you're not trying to hold 100 things.
Okay, appreciate it.
No problem. Well, all right. I hope that this was helpful. We will continue on with more parts of the Successful Show next week. We did, of the 6 parts, we did 1 and 2 this week. So I would imagine we can do at least 3 and 4 next week, and then 5 and 6 the following. So, although we may be able to fit more in there, I'm not sure yet. But have a great rest of your night. Have a great week. What I was saying before I restarted the recording, actually, I'm going to stop the recording so it stays a clean recording.